Hello and welcome to another lecture of the course Aquaculture. Today we are going to discuss about sea ranching and its significance. Sea ranching, the concept that came into existence because of the over exploitation or full exploitation of the natural resources. What we saw that earlier we have been exploiting the natural fisheries resources, and we did it irrationally. So what happened that fishery stocks of many commercially important species, they started showing signs of collapse, or they were simply not enough for fishing in every year. So ultimately, what we decided to release some seeds from outside and take the brooders, breed them in the confinement in the hatchery, and then release the seeds into the natural system so that they can increase the number of that particular species, and in the natural environment itself they can maybe they can mature, they can breed, and they can contribute to the recruitment process of that population. So not only the number of that population will be taken care of, but also the livelihood of many local fishermen or other stakeholders can also be taken care of. Um, that was the main concept which was there. Here you can see sea ranching was defined as the release of artificially propagated fish into marine stocks and augment natural fisheries production. In fact, this was one of the very important restocking or stock enhancement strategy, in fact a part of management and conservation of the natural fisheries resources. But there are international symposia for stock enhancement and sea ranching. It takes place after a gap of a few years at many places around the world. And when it was held at Seattle, Washington in USA in 2006, the concept of sea ranching started to be looked at with different perspectives. Scientists, researchers, they deliberated, and they were of the opinion that we should, consider sea ranching with a different perspective. What was that perspective? You can see here that Bell in 2000 et al. In 2008 defined sea ranching as, this is very interesting, the release of cultured juveniles into unenclosed marine and estuarine environments, unenclosed that natural environment which is not confined, for harvest at a larger size. When they grow up, you can harvest them with the concept here you see in this: put, grow, and take. So that was the basic concept that was put forward by the researchers, that okay, it can be done like put, grow, and take operations, with no intention of allowing released juveniles to supplement the spawning biomass, as in the case of stock enhancement. So whatever you are putting in with the help of sea ranching, the juveniles, the young ones, you are not intending to let them mature and breed and contribute to the existing population in terms of number recruitment. No, you are simply releasing them to feed and grow in the natural environment, and then you can harvest and market it. So that is one concept. This concept, put, grow, and take, definition of sea ranching has been accepted by several countries, including Norway, Australia, and the United States of America. But not all countries agree on this, but there are many who are doing this kind of operation in principle. Asian countries, different Asian countries like China, Japan, South Korea, the term sea ranching here, sea ranching, or you will also find marine ranching term for the same concept, is used to imply a combination of aquaculture based enhancement, habitat enhancement, and fishery management in specific sea areas. Whatever the purpose, whatever the intention is, but the concept remains same, that you have to get the brooders, breed them in the confinement, in the hatcheries, raise them to a decent size so that they can survive in the natural environment, and then release them in the natural environment. So, whether your purpose is to let them mature and breed in the natural environment, or you can harvest them before the breeding occurs. So, that depends on what your objectives are. Now, sea ranching has been supposed to have been originated in USA in 1870, and in Japan also in 1975 they have been doing sea ranching with the shrimps, and India also in mid 80s sea ranching have been done with some of the marine prawns, marine pearl oysters and clams. So, the concept is quite logical, that if you have over exploited for one reason or the other the natural fish species, you were not having an idea that how these the population dynamics of that target fish species is going to behave in future, and then you can always overcome that problem to a certain extent with the help of sea ranching. There are two major variants of sea ranching that are adopted with when approaches are different, then economic implications are also different. The first approach is where the fish is intended for harvest by the releasing agency itself, the agency which is responsible for releasing the young ones, or fish seed, or whatever you are going to ranch in the water, and the same agency is harvesting it. Same agency is putting into the system, and same agency is harvesting it. Then that is one approach of sea ranching. The second approach is where the young ones are released by, where the fish are intended to be harvested by other agents unrelated to the releasing agency, where young ones are released by one agency, and then they are left open for harvesting by other agencies. For example, if governments are involved in our country, India, there are government agencies who are releasing the young ones of many marine species into the sea, and then they are there for exploitation by many small local fishermen and other agencies. Not that the same agency like CMFRI is doing good job in sea ranching, but CMFRI is not harvesting all the eels, that is done by other agencies, other stakeholders. Sea ranching technique, what it involves, if you have understood the concept that what sea ranching is, to get the brooders of the target fish species which you wish to ranch, and breed them in hatchery in the confinement, get the brooders, broodstock development, breed them, then rear the larvae on large scale, then transfer them to nursing tank or nursing pond, and then when they are of certain size which can take care of themselves in the natural environment, then release the seed at suitable sites. You should select the suitable site where there are no predators or very few predators, or it's always good to release in such an environment where predators are not present. And that region, that area where you are releasing the seeds, that area should have sufficient or abundant quantity of quality food items that these young ones will feed upon. Then monitoring of the released and natural stocks to assess the impact. In fact, this is possible by simple marking and tagging method also, that you simply mark or tag these young ones while releasing. It's not necessary that you are tagging all. Randomly you can tag, and then over period of time, you can keep on checking different life characteristics, whether they are showing good age related developments or not, or whether what is their number in the area, in the region. So everything can be monitored. Some of them, whether they are showing maturity, whether they are spawning, whether like that, you can have entire, like in marking and tagging, we are doing, mark, release and recapture. So same concept you can apply here for monitoring of these stocks which you have released into the natural system. Here the same steps in sea ranching what are written: gain access to rights over an area for optimal habitat for ranching, collect broodstock and breed them in hatchery, release juveniles in a way to maximize survival to maturity, protect the released animals in the ranching area until they reach an optimal marketable size, and then harvest the released fish species or any other aquatic species. So these are the steps, and we have seen the same steps almost here. And many of these things you can understand by going through my induced breeding lecture, where I talked a lot about how we should select brooders and how we should go for breeding and how the hatching process takes place in case of fishes and other aquatic species. Hatchery production, broodstock selection, the same thing is detailed in my earlier lecture. I told you high quality broodstock are selected based on their genetic traits and health. In fact, broodstock, while selecting broodstock, you should be very careful that you are getting the broodstock of the same variety which you are looking for. That broodstock is having the desired traits that you are looking for in terms of growth, in terms of disease resistance, in terms of tolerance to fluctuating environmental parameters, or whatever you are looking for, the traits that should have all the traits, that should be very healthy. So select the broodstock and then go for induced breeding of that target fish species or aquatic species. And for that, you will have to first standardize the technique or protocol of induced breeding within your selected area. That is very necessary. First to standardize with preliminary trials, then go for commercial scale breeding or large scale breeding, by which you can get more of offsprings. Then larval rearing, this is very critical, very crucial. There may be spawning, successful spawning, there may be successful hatching, larvae may emerge, hatchlings may come out, but survival of hatchlings, as soon as the yolk sac absorbs in case of fish larvae, fish hatchlings, the problem is to take food from outside. And that weaning period is very crucial, very critical. If they do not get the kind of diet which they can feed upon, then they may die. So that you will have to take care and try to do it in the controlled conditions only, so that the survival rate is high. Then nursing phase, once they pass the critical larval phase, then transfer them to nursery and take care. Again, at this point of time also, they need a lot of care. You will have to take care of the kind of predators that can feed upon these small young ones, and also the kind of food, the type of food, the size of food items. If possible, try to supply natural food items, so they respond very well and you will get good results. Then health monitoring, that is again very necessary. Here it is written regular health checks and vaccinations. Vaccinations, we will not find vaccines for all kind of health problems in case of fishes. Very few vaccines have been developed for a very few conditions for a selected fish species. But that is one of the things which is written. If available and if necessary, then you can do it. But there are many other prophylactic as well as therapeutic treatments. So if you are managing everything well, if you are doing the prophylaxis properly, then there may not be major health issue. Then you have to release into the sea, wild, natural environment. For that, this thing, acclimatization, which we often also call as acclimation, that is also very important. Why? When we have to release these juveniles, these very tiny young ones into the natural environment, from one environment to the other, because you have raised them in the controlled conditions outside their natural environment, and they are habitual of living in that aquatic environment under controlled conditions. But now you are going to release them in a different natural environment where there is intense competition for food and space at a very different scale. So what you have to do, and that natural water is also having very different characteristics. So what you have to do, you should acclimatize them in those conditions, in those at least in that water for a little while, so that they don't feel like a shock when they are just transferred or thrown into the natural waters. So you can understand it by the example of fish seed release in case of freshwater ponds also. I probably told you about in my earlier lecture that when we carry the bags having water where the young ones are there, and then the upper portion of the bag is having oxygen, then and that water is from hatchery where we have collected fish seed from, where we have purchased seed from, and then when we carry it to our pond, then we just keep the bag as such, along with water, fish seed and oxygen. We just keep it as such in the pond. Once the temperature of both inside and outside the bag becomes almost equal you can say, then we open the bag and keep it like that only, so that some of the water from pond can come into the bag, and then gradually we add more water from the pond into the bag. So they get adapted to those conditions, and then you can release them into the pond. So you will have to take into account those conditions, that the region, the kind of water you are going to use, and the kind of water characteristics that are present in natural environment. They should not be having large differences, in terms of water quality parameters. Transportation. Juveniles are transported to the release site using specialized containers that we all know we can take care of, oxygen and other things and handling. So it should be, the aim should be here in transportation also, to minimize the stress as much as possible. So that is the thing, that if you do not put fishes into stress, then many of the problems can be avoided as such beforehand. Then release the juveniles into the selected natural habitat, and if you have selected appropriate site for that, then the chances of their survival, growth and maturation, if you are targeting, if you are intending, that becomes more. Monitoring and evaluation. I told you there are different methods of monitoring and evaluation. You can mark them or tag them, and then you can track, mark release and recapture, or tag release and recapture, whatever you can say. And by doing this, you can have an idea that in fact this is very important, because that will not disturb the composition, the faunal diversity of that region, and the fish species that you are targeting. That will help you out in understanding what is the dynamics of age structure of that population in the area, and that is very necessary in deciding, in assessing the stock, by which we frame our fishery legislations, that how to go for fishing in what month, and how much of one species or the other, or you can say stock specific strategies can be developed. Regular surveys, ongoing surveys and data collection. Government has many programs of monitoring its natural stocks by continuous data collection on the stock specific resources. Sea ranching is practiced in several countries. Many of us are aware of that. Japan has a long tradition of ranching. and they are very particular about. They do it very regularly, and the species they use for ranching: chum salmon, scallops, sea bream. Over 70 species are released from ocean ranching, contributing significantly to fisheries of the country. More than 70 species they are using for sea ranching, So that is great thing, and that contributes to the fishery of the country a lot. United States, here there are many species which are sea ranched, like salmon, scallops, and other species also. Only two are written here, but you will find many other species also which are being used for sea ranching and for different purposes. Sometimes to support commercial fisheries, sometimes to just for stock enhancement or something. China focuses on modernized marine ranching by constructing fish reefs, artificial nurseries, and restore fishery resources and support sustainable fishing practices. So, I told you in the beginning that the intention, the objective may vary little bit according to the conditions. It's not like one country has accepted one approach of sea ranching, then it will not never go towards second approach. And that flexibility you will find. Whether they are saying that they are following only one approach, one or two, but you know, you may get instances where both approaches may be utilized according to the conditions. Australia, here barramundi and for recreational fisheries, and there are many other species also which are being used in Australia also. In India, what we are doing in India, I told you in the beginning that in 1980s, sea ranching was done, and here we release hatchery produced juveniles into the natural habitat as we do in case of sea ranching. The same definition it is written here. And what are different examples? Penaeus semisulcatus, the green tiger prawn, has been used for sea ranching many times, and here there are examples that hatchery produced post larvae are released into the Palk Bay, Tamil Nadu. This initiative is basically aimed to supplement the natural stock as well as support the livelihood of local fishermen. So here some other agency I was talking, releasing the young ones is the responsibility of some other agency, and the beneficiaries are local fishermen. So that is the kind of government initiative we have in our country. Pearl oyster, here experimental ranching of pearl oysters has been carried out to enhance stocks and promote pearl production. This is just a pamphlet which was prepared by CMFRI, Central Marine Fisheries Research Institute, the leading institute, marine research institute in our country, Marine Fisheries Research Institute. And they released seeds of shrimp, cuttlefish, and squid into the sea. And 11 lakh seeds of Penaeus semisulcatus were released in Palk Bay, while the Tuticorin Research Center of the same institute, CMFRI, conducted sea ranching of cuttlefish and squid at Tuticorin. So, institute releases total 14 lakh shrimp seeds in the year 2018 and 2019. So, that is good contribution into the natural environment in order to augment the population. Demand of squids and cuttlefish, we all know that they have good demand, and we get good foreign exchange by these. Sea ranching of the green tiger shrimp, Penaeus semisulcatus, under the central sector scheme PMMSY, Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana. I told you about this scheme in detail in my earlier lecture. So, CMFRI is regularly carrying out sea ranching of semisulcatus in the Gulf of Mannar and Palk Bay to replenish natural stocks and to enhance shrimp productivity. And a total of 1.3 million green tiger shrimp seeds at PL20 stage were sea ranched at Devi Pattanam, Palk Bay, and Ramanathapuram district on 19th September 2024, very recently. So, a total of 101.74 million green tiger shrimp seeds were sea ranched in Palk Bay and Gulf of Mannar since the inception of the project in February 2022. So, keeping in view the objectives of PMMSY, it's not that only natural resources or fishery resources in sea are depleting, but natural fishery resources in our rivers, they are also depleting. In fact, freshwater resources or riverine resources, they are ecosystem in fact is more fragile than the marine ecosystem because of the multiple utilization of freshwater and immense pressure on freshwater resources. The fishery resources are also under quite intense pressure. So, the population of many fish species, commercially important fish species in the rivers, they are also showing signs of depletion. So, government under its PMMSY scheme went for sea ranching program in river ranching program in some of the selected rivers. So, river ranching program in India is talking of fingerlings we do in major basins of the country. The key objectives of river ranching, almost the concept remains the same: to sustain and conserve the biodiversity on the river, facilitate regular stocking of fingerlings of cultivable carps or the type of fish species which may require such kind of intervention, you can go for that. Increase fish production, enhance income and livelihood opportunities of communities dependent on these resources. If you go through the literature, that you will find that there are lot of people who are dependent for their livelihood on riverine resources. With dense human settlement, you will find along the Gangetic river system or maybe other river systems also. So, this will prove very good for them also. With the Namami Gange program, CIFRI has initiated a river ranching program in Indian rivers, emphasizing with more emphasis on the river Ganga. So, what they were doing, they were using IMCs, Katla, Rohu, Mirgal, Kalbasu and other depleted stocks like Hilsa, Hilsa elisha or Tenwalosa elisha, Mistus vitatus, and they were being released in different locations of the river Ganga. ICAR CIFRI was the organization that first popularized the idea of river ranching and released more than 86.97 lakhs IMC seeds, Indian major carp seeds. I told you in some of my lectures that Indian major carps, which are supposed to have originated from the Gangetic river system, or you can say their original germplasm is supposed to be there in the Gangetic river system, they are showing signs of depletion. They are not being caught in the desired numbers what we are expecting, and the entire ichthyofaunal composition is changing in the Gangetic river system. So, that kind of support is necessary. A total of 90,669 Hilsa broodfish were also released into the upstream of the Fakka barrage. I probably could have told you that because of the Fakka barrage, these anadromous fishes which come from the ocean and go upstream into the rivers in order to breed. So, these fishes were getting hindrance at Farakka barrage. So, what was done? Many brood fishes of Hilsa were released upstream of the Farakka barrage. Under National River Ranching Program, CIFRI has released millions of fingerlings of IMCs in the Ganga River. Under this program, some of the IMCs released here they have written, Gibellion Katla. In fact, this Katla genus, earlier you have seen that the name of the genus and the species of Katla was the genus as well as Katla was the species. But here what you see, the genus Katla has been replaced by Gibellion. This is a recent development, and now there are many researchers who argue that okay, genus Katla may be replaced by Gibellion. You can go for the reasons by uh, having information from the published literature. That is a relatively different thing, so I am not going to explain it here. The scheme is implemented in 3 river basins of the country, namely Ganges and its tributaries, Brahmaputra and Barak river tributaries, and Mahanadi and other rivers. So, Gangetic river system, you can say Brahmaputra river system and Mahanadi river system, they are focusing mainly, and covering 8 states, namely Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Chhattisgarh, West Bengal, Uttarakhand, Odisha, Assam, and Tripura. NFDB, National Fisheries Development Board at Hyderabad, during 2021 sanctioned a total of rupees 281.75 lakh, to 6 states, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Uttarakhand, Odisha, Tripura, with a target to ranch 82.13 lakh fingerlings. Steps which are followed in river ranching: number 1, collection of live adult fish. We have discussed it earlier also. Then maintenance of brooders for captive maturation. Then induced breeding them in confinement. Then fingerling production in captive nurseries, so as to ensure that you are getting desired numbers. Then ranching in the river, natural water body. These are some of the photographs which were released while these river ranching programs were going on. You may find many other type of photographs also. Then significance of sea ranching in very brief. We have been discussing this throughout the lecture, but here I can just give you a compilation that this is done for stock enhancement when any fish population in the natural environment is showing signs of depletion due to overfishing or due to habitat alteration or due to whatever, climate change. If the population of a particular species or stock of a particular species is showing depletion, then you can go for ranching. And these ranching programs, if done properly in scientific manner, they give excellent results. If you are following all the measures, it's not only that you are releasing and you are not having any legislations, any regulations, then people may destroy the released young ones also, released fingerlings also. So, you will have to put certain restrictions on fishing, on the activities, anthropogenic activities which can cause habitat alteration, which can pollute water, which can or in water extraction. All such activities should be regulated properly in order to get good result. Then biodiversity conservation. It contributes to the conservation of endangered or threatened species. The same way, if you are doing this, then you can, of course, contribute towards biodiversity conservation. Economic benefits: supports local fisheries and coastal communities. In fact, this is huge benefit to those marginalized people who don't have anything, get good employment or sustained income. They are not having. They are depending for their daily bread on the fishery resources of natural systems. And if you release these seeds, then they can get some of the fishes and then sell into the market, and they will get their bread, their food for a day. So that is these are some points of the significance of sea ranching. So that's all in this lecture. Thank you so much.